Sup? I come to you today as a man that, quite frankly, should be ashamed of himself. I said that this year was going to be the year where I actually work harder, and I clearly have not done that. And the reason for that is I've been hit with addiction. It's, we all know what addiction is. Addiction can be very dangerous. It can take control over one's life. Addiction is a hard thing to break. A bad habit is a hard thing to drop. This is an addiction that has gotten so bad that I am in this shithole of a room. I could have cleaned it before recording, but I decided to be an open book. I'm an honest book, and I am willing to show you how much it's taken my life. My bed's fucked. There's shit everywhere. I'm wearing yesterday's clothes. I haven't got a shower. I haven't brushed my teeth. I'm a fucking tramp right now. But at least I'm honest. I have an addiction. It is my addiction. The addiction is taking over me. The addiction is me. I am the addiction. I am addiction. Look it up in Google. Type in addiction. What comes up? Oh, it's me. Look at that. Fucking hell. So enough wishy-washy. Everyone has their own addictions and stuff, but what exactly am I addicted to is what you are asking, or is what you are asking. I'm never going to be able to fucking speak, am I? Well, as this video takes a more depressing toll, as the sun has been covered by the clouds, and as I say that, I think it's coming out again. Yes, I am in England. I can't believe we've got the sun either. I am addicted to emulators. No, stop laughing. I am serious. I'm addicted to emulators. Every emulator you can think of, I am addicted to. That's a lie. That's first off, that's not true. And also, Nintendo. They exist, and they've probably got 17 SWAT vehicles parked right outside my house. So I need to tread very lightly here. I can say this with confidence, actually. I am genuinely serious when I say this. I'm not doing this just to get Nintendo to get away from me. I 100% promise that I have never, ever emulated a Nintendo game. Now, as for will I emulate a Nintendo game, that's a completely different story. But at this current point in time, I have never emulated a Nintendo game, so I am free from that sin, right? Nintendo, stay away. You can stay away from me now. Just because I say I might emulate a Nintendo game doesn't mean I will. Hasn't happened yet. You have nothing to convict me of. The fuck are you gonna do? Blacklist me? I'm irrelevant anyway. What good's that gonna do? But before we continue with this, we need to start on how we need to build up this foundation. Get to the roots of how I became addicted to emulators, and that being the reason why I fucked off again. Now, one thing for the past few years that I've actually become really passionate about is game preservation. I like preserving games every time I can. If it's eligible, I always tend to buy a physical copy of a game that I really want. And the reason for that is because 9 times out of 10, the whole game is printed on a disc. It's not reliant on a server that could get shut down. It's not a game that fuckers can change. However, I don't know, for example, like when I bring up modern day physical copies, people are going to be like, but Cardi, the physical disc doesn't actually have anything. You have to download the game from the internet. And I say, you are completely fucking wrong. Yes, there are games out there where you need an internet connection to, you know, actually download the game. Gran Turismo 7, perfect example, even says on the box that it needs internet. I don't know how well you could see that from the video, but that's what that little thing says there. Obviously, there are games that require the internet from a physical disc, but just because one game does it doesn't mean this does, doesn't mean that this does. And even though it says it on the box, this game works perfectly fine installing offline as well. You can try it for yourself. If you have a PS5 game, PS4 game, maybe an Xbox One game, and in rare instances, I'll admit, Xbox Series X games, if it doesn't say internet required anywhere on the box, just put your console in offline mode, don't connect it to the internet, and put in ZDisk to install. If you already have the game installed, just delete it, because that's cheating. Just put in the disk completely offline and it'll install the 1.0 code on that disk. Or if it's a reprint, for example, I had Days Gone got a reprint, you could get a higher update of the game that's printed on the disc, and that disc is yours. You don't have to rely on PlayStation, you have to rely on fucking Xbox, you know, internet servers that will get taken away one day, because you need to remember, every time you buy a digital game, you don't earn that game. It's licensed to you, which means if they feel like taking it away from you, they fucking can. I mean, it happened to the Crew on fucking Ubisoft. The server shut down, and I was like, oh, you don't deserve the files. Fuck you. And it really frustrates me when people constantly try to correct people when, in fact, they're just completely wrong. I see it on Twitter damn near all the time. Hell, if you follow me on Twitter or X, I have X logos, but I'm still not calling it X. I never fucking will. If you follow me on Twitter, it's like 70% wrestling related and 30% talking about game preservation and physical discs. I follow an account called Does It Play that tells you if a game is completely installed on a disc, and I thank them lot, truly. So yeah, if you buy games nowadays for your Xbox Series X, or more importantly the PS5, since, well, they actually put the games on the fucking discs, you now know why it's probably better to buy the physical disc instead of buying a digital file. But that's not relating to, well, yeah, it can technically relate to, like, yeah, it does relate to emulation. It's how I got into this mess in the first place. I have become a big game preservationist, okay? So having games printed on a physical disc, sure, Discord is a thing, but I don't think discs are going to rock for a long while. We'll be long beyond the stars before fucking discs start to melt. So as long as you take care of that disc, that game is yours to own for the rest of your life. But another problem with game preservation is the hardware that it runs on. See, every hardware, or every piece of hardware is going to kill itself at some point, alright? Fucking Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death, fucking PS3 had like a yellow light of death, I think. Like, all hardware is going to fucking die. Even the fucking PS4 is going to die. How loud my PS4 is, I'm surprised it hasn't died already. Are you good there, buddy? I'm not even in the game, it's a fucking pre-rendered cutscene and it's already having a heart attack. Alright, I'm more in the game now, and yeah, this thing might explode soon. PS5's gonna die, all hardware is inevitably going to die. It sucks, but that's the reality of life. So what happens when there's a very specific game that you want to play, however it's only tied to one or maybe two sets of consoles, and they all fucking die? Well, you need emulation for that, and thanks to the existence of emulators, that means the games we love will not die either. So as I've become a big emulator junkie for the past few months, I need to revamp, and let's take you back to where this all started. And it all starts with a little emulator called Xenia. Or Xenia, I don't know how you pronounce it, it's one of the two, I believe. I could be wrong entirely. I'm going to pronounce it Xenia for now, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself in the future. You see, Xenia is an emulator for the good old Xbox 360. And I'll be honest, at the time, I can't remember exactly how I got into Xenia, but I have a strong idea. When I originally installed it, I didn't really think much of it, but I'm going to take a very educated guess and see how my little noob mind got into emulating Xbox 360 games, or at least trying to. You see, if you have an Xbox 360 and you have a disc in, if you go to the store page on the disc section, you can see that you can install it. Installing games on a 360 basically just installs it to a hard drive, and you see the benefit of installing a game to a hard drive on a 360, it doesn't really make the disc game a digital game. You still need to put the disc in, but you would get faster loading times. That's why you install PS4 games, for example, where you have to install them, because if you just ran them off a Blu-ray, with how big these newer modern games are, you're going to be there till you're fucking dead. That's why you have to install them. But me being the good old brainiac that I am, I thought, what if, because I heard so many good things about emulating, particularly with Red Dead Redemption, how we can get that to run at 60 frames per second, I thought, what if because I didn't know how to put games on the emulator to begin with. I thought you'd need the whole game. I was like, how the fuck do I do that? And then my little noggin thought, what if I put the disc in and installed it to a USB stick and then plugged into my computer? So that's exactly what I did. And while you might need to do some little tinkering to find what correct file to, you know, launch the game on, I found it and it works, or at least some games actually launch. Now, I primarily thought Xenia was just a cool experiment because most games that I tried tend to not really work, but there are a few hidden gems in there that actually work on Xenia very well. For example, Red Dead 1, you can get that running at 60 frames per second. Fucking mind-blowing. You can't do that unless you're an idiot and bought the PS4 port for, how much is it? Fucking expensive. You shouldn't buy that. You could just take your 360 version of the game, put it on here, and it runs at 60 frames practically flawlessly. Obviously, this is depending on the hardware. This is mine, not the best computer in the world. I need a new graphics card, I am fully aware, but it runs well. Another game works on Xenia that really tickles my pickle. In fact, it was the first game that I ever played when I got my 360. It was this bad boy. Yes, the footage you are watching right now is FIFA Street 3 running at, I believe, 4K under Xenia, and it's perfectly playable. It's practically like a remaster of the game, and you can see where we're heading into dangerous territory. Since then, I have backed up God knows how many games, Xbox 360 games, to my computer to test on Xenia, and a lot of them that I have tested don't work, or at least don't work very well to the point that they're even playable. But still, it was fun to try, and hopefully within the future, because emulators are constantly developing projects, hopefully 5 years down the line, every 360 game runs flawlessly under Xenia. I beg. And while admittedly Xenia isn't the easiest to get games running, at least in my experience, I do believe it's one of the easiest to actually dump your own games on, because if you have an Xbox 360, you don't even need to do any mods or anything like that. Just take your 360 disc, put it in your 360, install it onto a drive that you can plug into your computer, and the game's basically there. It's like fucking magic. But what if I want to emulate something else? Maybe something like the PS2. You see, I have two PS2s. I have both a fat one and a slim one. I can't be asked to get them out. I might show them. They're down there. I can't be asked to get them out, but I do have them, I swear.
I noticed that rhymed, Eminem. You want to fuck you, Eminem, you stupid husband, bitch.
Now, both these PS2s do not work, or at least are functional properly. Both the disk drives don't work. On the fat PS2, the disk drive, like whenever you go to eject it, it just shoots out like it's a fucking F1 car, million miles an hour, like it's about to fly out the thing. That's how fast it goes, and you can push it back. Well, you can't push it back in. When you press the button, it does nothing. When you push it back in, it practically fights you. The disk drive does not work. I tried fixing it. All I did was unscrew it, look at it, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And for the PS2 Slim, my childhood PS2, which I unknowingly stole from my sister, my first childhood console during the 360 PS3 era, but I was on PS2. I was a little broke boy, but still, a lot of fucking gems on the PS2. And while you can still turn it on, the disk drive also doesn't work. The laser doesn't read properly, and I don't want to buy a new one and install it. It just seems like a mess that I really cannot be asked to go into. And I have a bunch of PS2 games that I rebought since my mum gifted me the fat PS2 a few years ago. And I was like, what the fuck do I do with these? I just have the games that I can't play. Maybe I'll fix a PS2 in the future. I don't know what to do. But this is where nerdy me really comes into play, okay? Since I talked about how much I love physical discs, we have a few blank DVDs with nothing on them. I was thinking, maybe I'll just put some stuff on there, just because I was bored. I don't know what to do. I never did, but we do have a laptop with a DVD drive. That's why I nicked it, and my parents took it away from me. One sec. This bad boy. We've had this family laptop for God knows how many years, almost a decade, I believe. It's slow as fuck. But this thing right here gets the job done. You see, while I realised I was doing nothing with these blank DVDs, I thought PS2 games are DVDs. And I thought to myself, if some games on Xenia will work, why won't PS2 games work as well? So I downloaded PCSX2, that is the PS2 emulator, and I thought of the genius idea of putting in the PS2 disc into the laptop and basically just extract the files from that to the USB stick. Yeah, that didn't work. You need to convert them into an ISO file. But then I put a program to create ISO files onto my USB stick, and then I converted PS2 games into ISO files, and yes, PS2 games do in fact run. And I already brought up FIFA Street 3. What if I brought up FIFA Street 1? Probably one of my favourite games of all time. This game's a fucking masterpiece. FIFA's down the shitter nowadays. I'm ashamed to admit that. I don't like the way FIFA's heading, but no matter what FIFA does, even if it kills 17,000 Asian children, this game will hold a special place in my heart. And when I got PCSX2 working, we're getting into addiction territory. See, this is what the game would normally look like on a PS2. It is running on the emulator, but I lowered the graphic settings to native PS2, well, you know, how it look on a PS2, PS2 resolution. But with my good old crafty computer, I yanked that resolution up and... holy shit. Look at it! Look at it! Look how fucking gorgeous it is now! I have practically just remastered FIFA Street. That's how fucking advanced it looks. That's how much of an upscale it is. It's like magic. It's like wizardry. And then I had a use for all my PS2 games. Yes, Dumping City I did with this laptop. All these fucking games. Literally, honestly, all of them. All the games you've seen in this list are actually PS2 discs that I have. None of them are pirated. I haven't pirated any yet. But now we're diving into more dangerous territory, because once I realised PCSX2 was working, and then I also had Xenia, I just went out and bought more games. You see, we have a used game store. Well, not games, used hardware. CEX, that's what I'm talking to. It's actually pronounced sex. No joke, but I don't feel comfortable saying that. Well, in regards to a shop, as it comes to fucking bitches, however. You see, with the power of emulation by my side and how cheap PS2 games actually are, and even 360 games, I went on a complete shopping spree. It went from looking for GTA Vice City because the definitive edition is garbage, just like my speaking, along to different games I found. Like, I like Gran Turismo games. I didn't even know what this Gran Turismo game was. I just bought it because I was curious. And look at it running on an emulator. Fucking hell. So with emulators practically remastering games and games being so cheap, I was out of control. I even went to charity shops to buy games. They didn't have any, but one, and I fucking bought Pictionary. Why? Because it was the only game there, and it was £1. I bought Pictionary for £1, and you're probably wondering, why didn't you just play Pictionary in real life? Why would I play Pictionary in real life when I can play it in 4K? And without realising, I only found this out not too long ago, it requires a U-Draw tablet, which I don't have. But it doesn't matter, I'll fucking emulate the U-Draw tablet if I have to. Can I? I don't know. Will I? I will definitely try my best. If you can't, shall I make an emulator for the U-Draw tablet myself? I don't know how to code, but I will learn to. I'll do everything in my power to emulate Pictionary. Sorry, I was incorrect. It's not Pictionary. It's Pictionary. But I was not going to stop there, no. I also have this little masterpiece right here. I knew a PSP emulator's existence, and I was like, why not? I've already got a bunch of games on my memory stick. Obtained legally. They definitely were obtained legally, I swear. And once I learned how to extract UMDs, see, I have a bunch of PSP games here, all on UMD. Dumped them on there as well, and in fact, some of them actually needed the emulator to actually be playable. See, I have Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition on the PSP, and playing on the PSP, the game actually runs like proper dog shit, even for 2005. When did this come out? Yeah, it looks like 2005. Yeah, 2005 standards. I was like, this is unplayable. The frame rate is so slow. But on PPSSPP, what an interesting naming scheme. 60 frames per second at 4K. I actually do need to provide some important context when it comes to Midnight Club. See, the footage I showed you on the PSP, that's on the quick race mode, and that's the mode where it runs very slowly. But if you go to arcade mode, on the PSP, it's not great, but it's not actually that bad. But then when I went to go play it on the emulator, the arcade mode you're seeing now is running at 60 frames, like I shown on the PSP, where the frame rate is a lot better than on race mode. However, on the race mode on PPSSPP, it mainly runs at 30, although you do get little spikes when it goes up to 60, but then it just drops back down to 30. So in the case of Midnight Club, it's just like a very bipolar game when it comes to what the frame rate is for it. I don't know why, but the point still stands that this game is much more playable than it is on the PSP, especially in quick race mode. I felt like I need to provide some context because it's not 60 all the way through. It's a very weird game when it comes to performance, but the point still stands. I'm playing this all with a PS5 controller as well, by the way. My favourite controller of all time. When they do not get stick drift, Jesus Christ, I've been through like 5 of these things. But there is one system that I've heard many great things regarding the emulator for said system, and I wanted to do it for quite a while, but it seemed like a complicated mess to, you know, get started with, to dump my own games. I was like, I don't know if I could be bothered to go through the process. But then I was bothered to go through the process. RPCS 3 is the emulator in mind, the PlayStation 3 emulator, and the PS3 is probably my favourite console in terms of my time being spent with it. My childhood console, my first thought would either be the PS2 or the PS3. I spent a lot of time on 360 as well, but PS3 for me was where it was really at. Hell, it's even how I started this YouTube channel. Them fucking garbage Just Cause 2 videos, they were from this same PS3 that I have to this day. One regret of my life is that I traded in a lot of systems CX for some money, and while I do have a lot of them back, some of them are not the same. The only ones we have are the PS2 and almost would have been the PS3. I really wanted to sell it, but luckily my dad bought it from me, and we still have that same PS3 to this very day, and I swear to God, I only want to see it away from me if it's with a member of my family or someone I can trust. I am never getting rid of that thing. I have heard many great things regarding RPCS3. I heard it's way more advanced than Xenia, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, let me mod my PS3 and extract the games. So I went ahead and modded my PS3. No, this footage is not mine. I don't know who I stole it from at this current point in time. Subscribe to them. And my PS3 was officially modded. Multi-Man was available to dump all my games, and I went on a spree. There was already a lot of games that I had on PS3 that I already dumped. For example, GoldenEye Reloaded. That was a game I played a lot on the Xbox 360 as well. I even played a bit of it on the Wii, the original version. This one, in fact, fun fact, I bought this again to dump using the laptop method, and it turns out you need a hacked Nintendo Wii to dump it, and I don't have a Nintendo Wii. Andrew does. He hasn't given it to me. I'll steal it from him. But I got GoldenEye Reloaded running on this thing, and the footage you are seeing right now is at 4K 60. Bear in mind, this is a console that a lot of people deemed impossible to emulate because of the complicated structure of the PS3, yet it's doing shit like this. And to be fair, it was so good revisiting GoldenEye in 4K 60 that I managed to beat the entire campaign. And the game ran practically flawlessly, besides like a crash or two, maybe? I know I got one, maybe two. That was it. The game ran pretty much perfectly. Obviously, I can't really say that for all games on RPCS3. I played Black Ops 1 campaign again at 4K 60, and it was very much playable. There was some missing graphics and frame drops here and there, but the game is perfectly playable from start to finish, and man, replaying through Black Ops 1 really made me realise that that might be one of my, probably my favourite COD game of all time. I didn't even consider it for a long time, but replaying through that campaign, it's definitely top 3 for sure. And with the fact that RPCS3 is playing damn near majority of PS3 games, maybe not flawlessly, they definitely have issues, but the fact that you can play them with either enhanced frame rate or enhanced resolution, like his Mod Nation Racers. This is a game I played a shit ton as a kid, and it was capped at 30 frames, but here, 60 frames per second goodness. And with the fact that I also like earning games on physical copies, and like I said, CX being so cheap, it wasn't just my PS3 collection that I already had that I dumped. No. I went on more shopping sprees. These are all games that I bought within like the last month. 2 of them we already have, but they're broken. That being Uncharted 3 and Motorstorm. I bought second copies because they were really cheap. I have a problem, and I have dumped all these games? All of them except PES 2011. I tried that and the disc is fucked, didn't work. But oh well, it was 50p, I'll just buy it again. But here's footage of Uncharted 1. Getting a lot of these games actually running at remastered levels of quality. Like, I know the Nathan Drake collection exists for the PS3, for example, but at the same time, there's, like, Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 don't have multiplayer, and RPCN is a thing. They're bringing up servers for all PS3 games, so if they got shut down for the PS3, maybe they'll come on RPCN and we could play Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 multiplayer at 60 frames per second, 4K goodness. We don't even need the Nathan Drake collection anymore. And of course it will help with games, you know, locked to the PS3. Like I said, Uncharted, the original 3, you can play 4 and Lost Legacy on the PC, but you can't play 1, 2 and 3. But with RPCS 3, now you can! But my dumbass brain really wanted to try games that really did not need emulating. I saw Mutaha, some ordinary gamers, emulate GTA 5, the PS3 version, and I went ahead and bought it again. It was only £5. And even on my system, the game runs pretty well. But I thought, speaking of childhood open world games, I thought I'd take the step further into an unnecessary station. I bought Watch Dogs as well. A lot of people are not a fan of Watch Dogs. I stand by it. I still love this game to dear heavens. Yes, it didn't look as good from the fucking E3 demo, and yes, Ubisoft should be ashamed of themselves for that, and also Ubisoft should be ashamed of themselves now, more ashamed of me speaking. I know it's fucked, but not as fucked as Ubisoft policies. Where is the crew going? But yeah, here it is. This is Watch Dogs PS3 version running underneath an emulator, and I'm currently going through, well, I'm trying to 100% the game, or at least, well, you can't play the online sections of the game, so obviously not those, but everything single player, I'm actually trying to do in RPCS3, and I'm almost like halfway through the entire game. The game, while it's definitely not the most recommended version I'd definitely play if you want to play Watch Dogs, it runs reasonably well, and plus that also means that's a game that I completely own, completely preserved, and can potentially play from start to finish. I think it's definitely going to get there. So I went from buying old games that I already had to relive the experience, to buying cheap games that really are very unnecessary to emulate since there's PC versions, but fuck it, why not? They were cheap. But even discovering games that I completely forgot about. Remember this gem? Like I said, it was cheap again, and I played it a lot on the 360, and I was thinking, maybe this game is complete garbage, but I tried it out and it actually slaps, I'll be honest. Looks like there's another Ubisoft game as well. So Ubisoft did make good games, but yeah, this is what I've been doing. And these aren't all the emulators I've been using. I've been using DuckStation briefly. I don't have that many PS1 games that I'm really interested in. It was stuff all my family had from back in the day, so, but I extracted them. They're all dumped on here, so the discs are practically dead because child me have them laying around, which I regret dearly, but luckily they're still able to be dumped, and they're now all on emulators, so who cares if the disc gets fucked? Just as long as I have the files, we are good. I even got the PS Vita emulator working as well. That's been kind of nice. Doesn't really work that well, but one day, baby. And yeah, that's my main reason why I've been gone this time. I've been using my computer for things I shouldn't have been doing, and yeah, I'm a mess. I very much am a mess, but I found a new love for emulators, and I will now die on a hill of an emulator. I know there's a PS4 emulator. Like, it's there, it exists. It can barely run like Sonic Mania and stuff. It's going to be many, many years before that gets working, but I am very looking forward to see if it gets to the point where we can start playing Drive Club at 4K 60 frames. I know a lot of people want Bloodborne. I don't care about Bloodborne. I want this shit 4K 60 frames. I'll be in fucking heaven when that fucking happens. The camera just fucking died. I saw it. You know what? That does not matter. Fucking, here's some emulated gameplay of whatever I'm playing. Yeah, this is a rabbit hole I've been going down, and like I said, it's one I do not plan on stopping, but like I said, I need to be more productive, and it's definitely been hitting to me, and I want to be back. I want to be on that grind properly, like I originally set out to do in January. I need to do it, and I didn't know how to get back on it, so I was like, fuck it, I'll confess my addiction. And here we are now. I did say there was a big vlog that I wanted to work on, and I have barely made progress on it, but I still want to upload it. I went to Iceland in January. Here's some footage there. And yeah, it's gonna be a long while before I actually managed to get that out, but I'm still gonna get it out besides how dated it was. And hopefully by then I can get back to it and maybe just make videos on just random shit. Hell, maybe I'll review emulated games. Who knows? But you know what? Now's the time where I need to put emulators on the back burner and be here for you lot, because this is what I want to be doing, and hopefully, even if it doesn't work out, being productive makes me happier, and I'll get back on that horse right away. After I finish dumping and testing my Xbox 360 copy of Pictionary.